2022 Heart of Law Enforcement Awards ceremony. Today you will hear 12 amazing stories that exemplify the kindness, compassion, and commitment law enforcement officers across our state exude every day as they do their duties. I guarantee you will be moved by the selflessness of these officers. At this time, I'm going to invite our spiritual guidepost, Pastor Dan Davis of the First Pentecostal Church of Parish, to come forward and open us in prayer.
Let's bow our heads together. Gracious Heavenly Father, I thank you for your instructions to give honor to whom honor is due. So we're here today, Lord, to spotlight, to recognize not just the duty of the law enforcement, but the very ministry and the call and the heart of law enforcement. Bless, I pray, our efforts to honor and to encourage them as they continue to serve you by serving others. We ask that you bless this food that we're about to partake of. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce the Louisiana State Police Honor Guard, who will conduct the presentation of colors. And our 2021 Beyond the Badge Service Before Self Award recipient, Lieutenant David Roddy, with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Detail. Present. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Forward.
TV Executive Board and Advisory Committee to believe this, but today marks the 5th Heart of Law Enforcement Awards ceremony. We've had honorees and guests from all levels of law enforcement and from all corners of the great state of Louisiana. We continue to be humbled by the quality of the nominations submitted and by the support that we receive from folks just like you. As a matter of fact, among today's attendees are a number of special dignitaries, particularly several elected officials. We offer our sincere thanks for being here today. The mission of Beyond the Badge Louisiana is to educate the public about ordinary law enforcement officers performing extraordinary acts of kindness in their communities. These acts of kindness extend beyond the oath that each officer takes or the duty that is required of them in their day-to-day responsibilities. Acts of kindness are those extra things officers do just because it feels right. They happen every day. But unfortunately, these acts of kindness are not the things that get the most attention. Beyond the Badge Louisiana seeks to correct that by hosting this event and engaging in a year-long campaign to share these acts of kindness with the public. Since spring of 2017, Beyond the Badge Louisiana has had the privilege of recognizing 49 law enforcement officers from agencies all across the state. Today, we have the privilege of honoring 15 additional Heart of Law Enforcement Award recipients, and I guarantee quite a few will make you grab box of tissues. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Linda Hull, who will tell us a bit more about Beyond the Badge.
Welcome to the Beyond the Badge Award ceremony. It's such a pleasure to be here today. First, let me tell you the history behind Beyond the Badge. In the fall of 2015, Kathy Childers, Donna Tate, and I met over coffee at my kitchen table to bring to life an idea I had been thinking about for several weeks. I had heard stories on social media of officers performing acts of kindness to citizens whom they came in contact. Yet it seemed the media was not interested in reporting any of these stories, and they happen so frequently. So I began to envision a project whereby we could recognize those law enforcement officers, those humanitarians who happen to wear a uniform, a badge, and a gun. We share their stories and somehow, in a small way, demonstrate our gratitude to them. I shared my dream that day with Kathy and Donna, and shortly thereafter, Beyond the Badge was formed. We are a nonprofit organization. We're run completely by a small group of volunteer citizens. We have no paid staff, no office, and no overhead. Every penny we collect is used in the furtherance of our mission. We are so excited to have Mr. John Schneider today with us as our keynote speaker this year. I can't tell you how thrilled we are that he has agreed to support Beyond the Badge. It should come as no surprise because that he is here today, as Mr. Schneider has had a long history of supporting law enforcement all over the country. How lucky are we that he chose us to make Louisiana his home. John, we're so grateful. Busy schedule to join us, and we look forward to your presentation in a few minutes. It's important to our law enforcement officers, and to me, that we acknowledge the good in these men and women, because every day they put on the uniform, go out into the world, and serve and protect people who are not always appreciative or respectful of them. Yet, they serve and they protect them anyway. In the case of these officers being honored today, there are countless more officers that we don't even know about. They also perform compassionate deeds. They see the need in their community. They fulfill it quietly, often at their own personal or financial expense, and without any expectation of acknowledgement or reward. They do it because it needs to be done, and because it's the right thing to do, and because they are kind, decent, and caring people. What is kindness? Kindness is one of the most beautiful expressions of humanity. Everyday kindness, heroic moments of kindness, banish fear, soothe pain, revive hope, and restore faith in our humanity. There are times when people need more than anything else is that extended, beautiful kindness to another person. The power of kindness is undeniable. It's a superpower. And this is what these men and women do every day in their communities. At Beyond the Badge, we see it, we acknowledge it, and we reward it. From the start, the three of us on the executive board realized that we needed support from a strong advisory council. So we recruited a group of people whom could guide us in our efforts to make my dream a reality. At this time, I would like to recognize our advisory committee, who have given so selflessly of their time, their expertise, and in some cases, their money. Advisory members, would you stand for applause, please? For a great group of folk. In order for our annual ceremony to continue to be successful, we need your help. First, we need nominations. Nominations can be made by anyone: a family member, a friend, a supervisor, a colleague, or a member of the public. Officers can be nominated until January 31st of each year for the acts of kindness they performed in the previous calendar year. Nominations can be made online at our website, which is www.beyondthebadgelouisiana.org. Second, we need your financial support. Later in our program, Christy will share several ways with you that are businesses that can help keep the Heart of Law Enforcement Award going. We are so grateful to this year's sponsors who are listed on the screen in front of you. Oops. At this time, we'd like to acknowledge these sponsors who have been with us since our very first award ceremony in 2017. Would a representative from W. DeBosier please come forward? Thank you, W. DeBosier. I never forget the first time I spoke to Chad. I told him my idea. Right away, he said yes. Thank you very much. At Smart Start Louisiana. And of course, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. In our recent and the Renee and Leslie Hull Foundation. And Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge. Again, thank you for helping us honor the Heart of Law Enforcement Award recipients and for doing what to ensure our continued success. You will help make my dream a reality, and for that I am so grateful. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a pause in our program. As you can see, the food is starting to come on out. So we will rejoin shortly, but please, until then, enjoy your lunch. We're so honored to have him as our honorary chairman. Lieutenant Governor Nungesser, we welcome you to the stage to offer some words of support and appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank all of our law enforcement and all of our sheriffs, not only for what you do in your job, but what you do outside of that. I'll tell you, Linda, Captain Donna, your passion for helping and recognizing what they do beyond the call of duty inspires me. So thank you all so much for what you do. And I want to apologize. I was out of town for last year's event. I will never miss another one. This is the one thing that is that important to me, to honor the men and women of law enforcement. I will tell you, I hope everybody saw the Rose Bowl parade. We were honored to have a float this year, but when I went out there and they said, look, Billy, it doesn't look like they let states put a float in. I said, well, let's give it a try. When we went out there and made our presentation, I saw the lady wearing a badge, her little pin said, dream, believe, achieve. And I asked her what that meant. She said, well, that's our theme this year. And she said, Mr. Nungesser, are you going to ride on the float? And it hit me right then, besides opening our doors back up to the world, how important it was to show the character of Louisiana and the kind of people we have. I said, no, ma'am, I'm not going to ride, but we're going to put an officer of the year, a teacher of the year, a nurse that worked in the hospital tirelessly to keep us safe during COVID. Miss Louisiana, Elaine Hardy, small town boy. All the good Louisiana has to offer. To represent those men and women that get up every day to keep our state safe and show the greater good of Louisiana. And she said, wow, she said, that's pretty special. She said, I got one other question. She said, does everybody in Louisiana have that much passion? I said, yes, ma'am, everybody does. And that's what is here today, the love and passion for law enforcement and what you do. And I'm going to close with a quote from my favorite president, Ronald Reagan. And he stood before law enforcement when he was governor in 1967 in front of the legislature, and he ended with this. And he said, without respect for the law, the best laws cannot be effective. And without respect for law enforcement, laws cannot be carried out. We must have respect not only for the law, but also for the many who dedicate their lives to protecting society through enforcement of law. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do. God bless you.
I want to take just a moment to share with you all the Honorary Awards. If you look towards the screen, the Honorary Awards that each honoree is receiving. Lieutenant Governor was modest and he did not share with you all that it is really part of his role that assists us in getting a flag flown in each honoree's honor over the state capitol building, so that they receive that flag that is beautifully framed and with a certificate that describes the date in which that flag was flown. In addition, each honoree gets a gift card, a monetary gift card, which we expect they will probably use not on themselves, but to help others in the community. They receive an official statement from Governor John Bell Edwards, a challenge coin, a Beyond the Badge challenge coin that has our logo on the front, and St. Michael the Archangel, patron saint of law enforcement, on the back, and then this beautiful tactical gear bag. So each honoree will be receiving one of these today. I believe there are a few additional little goodies inside the tactical bag. And so now, y'all have to give me just a moment, because there's a very fantastically wonderful gentleman sitting right to my left. He is a true friend of law enforcement, and he is our keynote speaker, Mr. John Schneider. Now, I am a woman of a discernible age. I will not tell you how old I am, but I will tell you that I have vivid memories of playing outside with my brother and boy cousins reenacting scenes from our favorite childhood TV show, The Dukes of Hazzard. We'd shut the doors and then we would take turns climbing in and out of the car, a la the Duke brothers. Now, as the only girl, I always got to be Daisy Duke, while the boys had to take turns role-playing between Bo and Luke and Boss Hogg. Absolutely. To have Bo Duke here today is a childhood dream come true. But I have to tell you all, John Schneider is so much more than just Bo Duke. He is still a successful actor with a career beyond Dukes of Hazzard, starring in popular TV shows like Smallville and Tyler Perry's The Have and the Have-Nots. He's checking my credentials over here. In addition to his success in front of the camera, Mr. Schneider and his partner are sought-after producers under the John Schneider Studio Maven Entertainment's banner. And on top of all that, John is a 4-time chart-topping country artist with over 20 albums to his credit. And we could stop there, but perhaps a lesser known about John is that his heart is even bigger than his meteoric fame. I did not know this, but I was pleased to learn and brought me to tears. In 1983, John, alongside singer-performer Marie Osmond and 2 amazing visionaries at the March of Dimes, founded the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. He's done this work for the Children's Miracle Network quietly for the past 39 years, but he remains intimately involved in raising funds and awareness for this life-changing and life-saving treatment, research, and healthcare serving charity. Another cause close to John's heart is supporting first responders and law enforcement personnel. John has spearheaded and participated in countless fundraisers, benefits, community outreach events, public service announcements. He's made visits to hospitals, to injured law enforcement officers, always heralding the brave and compassionate acts of police. In 2016, John had an up-close and personal reminder of the value of law enforcement and first responders when his 59-acre property in Holden, Louisiana, where John Schneider Studios is located, was inundated with water and debris from historic flooding that hit our area. 5 years later, in September 2021, once the property was fully restored, John hosted an event on the grounds to celebrate law enforcement and first responders and to commemorate the first responders' memories on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 attacks. In promoting that event, Mr. Schneider was quoted as saying, "During this time, I hope that people realize that our law enforcement and firefighters and first responders are always there for us. Rain or shine, summer or winter, Republican or Democrat. They are always there, and this is our opportunity to thank them." John, we appreciate that you are here to help us thank these officers today. We'd really like to welcome you to the stage for some of our
Wow. Well, in my many years now of television and movies and stuff, I've had some wonderful experiences with law enforcement, both at wonderful events like this on the golf course, on the side of the road. And I found that there are really two kinds of officers: those who want to chase, catch, and let Bo Duke go, and those who just want to chase and catch Bo Duke. I prefer the catch and release. I have been giving this a lot. For a moment, I didn't think I was going to be able to be here. My wife was having some issues. She broke her back. Well, she didn't trip over a bottle of scotch at a Safeway. She broke her, that's funny. She broke her back racing a dirt track car. So my wife is, she's about that tall, and I tell her she's 13 feet tall. She is, as we like to say at the Schneider household, tough as a Waffle House steak. She is. So if you are praying people, and I know there are many praying people here, please pray for Alicia, Elaine, Schneider. Okay. And she comes from a long line of first responders. Her dad was a fireman at Exxon for 35 years, I think. My daughter is a firefighter in Los Angeles. So we back the blues so hard and so often, and it just boggles my mind that we are currently living in a society where people talk about division between Republican and Democrat. They talk about all that. You know, both people I know who voted for Biden just don't understand my perspective. Thank God they don't talk to me anymore. Was that some kind of a threat? You know, I can't be your friend anymore. Thank God. You can't, because, you know, my nature is not to eliminate you from my life, but, you know, go for it. Go for it, pal. And we have to remember that these are the same people who are vehemently against our Second Amendment. So they are, by definition, unarmed, and we are not. And yet they, right? So all that to say, I just don't think they're very bright. When I am, in fact, a recovering Yankee. I love the state of Louisiana. Louisiana has embraced me since 2011. I've never seen a harder working or harder playing people. And I tell my friends around, I say, you know, I never really see, I seldom see a beer at the workplace, and I never see a briefcase at the bar. Right? Everywhere else I've been, people feel the need to just work and work and work, and they forget that there's a life to live. They forget that they have freedom for a reason, to enjoy themselves. And over the last, really, I guess, 2 years or so, they have forgotten, and I do think it's by design, they have forgotten about the men and women who provide that freedom for them. And that is you. You are the men and women who provide our civilian freedoms to us each and every day and each and every night. I'm delighted to say one of the first people I met when I came to Louisiana was Jason. Jason R. and I have been friends since 2011. It's been great. He hits a great drive when he has the right driver. But he will occasionally pretend his phone rang. Oh! But when I grew up in Mount Kisco, New York, which is a very little town, where they shot a movie called Fatal Attraction. But leave my second wife out of this. One of my favorite expressions about a crazy, the girls don't listen, but you meet a crazy woman, somebody say, man, that chick will boil your rabbit. So that's the town I grew up in. And we were in New York State. I was born in 1960. In New York State, we had a wonderful man on television named Officer Jack McCarthy. And it was local television, kind of like your Buckskin Bill Black here. So my Buckskin Bill Black was Officer McCarthy, and he would bring us cartoons every Saturday. So my understanding of police officers was, this is the man who brings me my cartoons. I love this man, right? I'm a little bitty. And then in Mount Kisco, where they shot that movie, the police station was right next to the movie theater. So there was a Sergeant Teddy Bruger, who was kind of, long before there was an officer friendly, there was a man there who would take you on the tour, and he would make sure that you were introduced to police officers. And it was wonderful. So I always knew that police officers were there in my life, in my little town, the village of Mount Kisco, to keep the peace, and they were my friend. And I felt it was necessary to, in return, to be their friend. So I have always respected law enforcement because of how I was raised. So with the media, the fake news just doesn't get it, do they? What they have done, the damage that the media has done to the perspective that the civilian population has on what you do is devastating. It is awful. It is, I think, possibly the biggest tragedy that we have had to endure in the last couple of years. So, you folks doing what you are doing, still doing what you are doing, still going beyond the badge, beyond the oath, to protect and to serve and make sure your communities and the people in your communities are safe, deserves a huge, especially now, a huge, do we have any civilians in here? It's okay, so let's applaud just civilians. Let's applaud our police officers. That we appreciate what they do. We need to tell our, I saw a little fellow running around here earlier. We need to make sure that the children know what these men and women do. We need to ignore the division that the media has intention. It's divide and conquer, divide and conquer. It doesn't sound like it, but I read a lot, and I know that divide and conquer is the #1 ploy to be able to manipulate and rule over people. We must no longer be divided, police officer from civilian. And it's not you have nothing to do with it. So we civilians must continue to make sure that everyone we come in contact with respects and appreciates and admires these men and women for what they do. Because when I go to work, I have every reason to believe I'm going to come home that night. And sadly, I have met a bunch of you, yes, on the golf course, yes, at events, and yes, on the side of the road. But I've also met many of you at funerals. And the end result of the division between our civilian population and our law enforcement is a terrible thing. I've been to several terrible things because when people lose, first of all, when people lose understanding of what it is you do, then people lose respect. And then when people who benefit from that division continue to fan that fire to create more and more division, there will be more and more funerals. We've got to look at the end result. We've got to unite as citizens and law enforcement. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll be the new Officer McCarthy. I don't know, but something. We have got to do that. We have to make that our mission. That's why this organization is so important. We need to shine a light on the amazing humanitarian, wonderfully selfless things that our men and women in uniform do each and every day. And when you hear these stories today, don't just keep them in your heart. Tell them. Tell them out there on the street. Because that will change the perspective tomorrow. It won't take a long time. So that'll change the perspective tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And the next generation will look back on this nonsense we're dealing with right now and say, that was a dark time, I'm glad it's over. What on earth were we thinking? So, you go somewhere and you see a police officer, quietly pick up the tab if you can. If you're able, do that. Pay it forward. Let them know. Tell them thank you for your service. You know, this is, I want to tell you, this is in many regards guards a war zone that the civilians are thankfully unaware of because you are doing your jobs. So know that there are civilians who love you. There are civilians who respect you. There are civilians who admire what you do. Don't ever forget that. And civilians, don't ever let a police officer end a day or end a shift without knowing that what they are doing is admired, respected, and appreciated. Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, sheriffs, chiefs, dignitaries, Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Schneider, we would like to move on to the presentation of our awards. Our founder, Linda Holt, and Lieutenant Governor, would you mind joining Linda to distribute the presentations? Present the awards, excuse me. Now, honorees, I know it's going to be your reaction to or desire to stand up as soon as I say your name. I'm actually going to share the amazing act of kindness that was submitted to us with the group today. So stay seated, kick back, listen to your story, celebrate yourself, and then I'll call you up at the end of the story. First, we have Deputy First Class DeWanda Black and Deputy Alex Troxclair with the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office. It was just a few days before Christmas 2021 when Deputy First Class DeWanda Black and Deputy Alex Troxclair responded to the Quality Inn located on Highway 70 in Dobsonville in reference to a stranded 19-year-old female. Upon arriving and speaking with the young woman, the deputies found out that she had little money and belongings and was just trying to get home. The young woman was from California and needed some time to get in touch with family and friends so they could help her make arrangements to travel home, but she had nowhere to stay in the meantime. Deputy Troxclair and DFC Black demonstrated genuine Christmas spirit by reaching straight into their own pockets and offering to pay for 2 nights of lodging at a hotel so the young woman would have somewhere safe and warm to stay. We are told that this type of action is typical of Deputy Black, who is always charitable in his day-to-day interactions with the public. When asked about Deputy Troxclair, his colleagues responded that he's only been with the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office for a short time, but he has quickly adopted their love for community service. I can't think of a better way to honor the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office than with recognizing DFC Black and Deputy Troxclair with a Heart of Law Enforcement Award. Please come forward, DFC Black and Deputy Troxclair.
Thank you. Nice badge.
Aren't they nice?
Thank you all.
Our next set of honorees come from the Lincoln Parish Sheriff's Office. They are Captain James Colvin, Sergeant Matt Henderson, and Deputy Joni Huffman. Before I get to their act of kindness, let me give you just a little bit of the backstory. It was November 2021, and the Lincoln Parish Sheriff's Office was contacted by a parish resident who homeschools her two girls. She stated that the girls loved public servants and wanted to write letters to the deputies as pen pals. Major Hunt, who was with the criminal division, spoke with the mother and provided the mother the office's contact information. A week later, a large envelope that was filled with drawings and thank you notes arrived courtesy of these sweet little girls. Major Hunt opened it, shared the letters and the drawings, and then also wrote a letter back to the girls and put it in the mail. As word spread around the office about the drawings and letters, the deputies decided to bring a turkey from the Turkeys Not Tickets giveaway and dare prizes to the family. As part of this new friendship that started up, the same mom reached out a month later in December to ask how many deputies were employed with the Lincoln Parish Sheriff's Office. Major Hunt again told him that there were the number of deputies, and it is because the daughters wanted to make a little Christmas gift for each deputy. A few days later, the mom even sent a photograph of her daughters making paracord survival bracelets for all of the deputies. But then a couple of days before Christmas, the mom called again to say that the bracelets would not be ready for the holiday, but assured Major Hunt that the girls were still working on them. Mom went on to explain that her sister, her nieces, and nephews had a tragic event on Christmas Eve where a family member went on a drug binge and stole all of the kids' Christmas gifts. The sister and her kids were now staying with the family in Lincoln Parish. The thing that her sister, the mom's sister, was most disappointed in was the misperception that the nephews had that Santa just didn't love the kids. Because of the whole unfortunate incident, the girls hadn't been able to complete the paracord survival bracelets, but planned on doing so. Upon hearing the news of the unfortunate incident affecting the aunt and the cousins of their new pen pals, Captain James Colvin, Sergeant Matt Henderson, and Administrator of Criminal and Victim Services, Deputy Joni Huffman, banded together on a mission to ensure that everyone's Christmas spirit was revived. The group solicited their colleagues for contributions and then headed over to the local Walmart to shop for the kids. They purchased remote control cars, Matchbox car sets, teddy bears, block sets, and board games for the kids. And parents using the contributions from the entire office. They also purchased a gift card for mom so she could buy some new clothes for the kids. Later that day, Colvin, Henderson, and Huffman delivered the gifts to the family. This act of kindness not only restored the Christmas spirit of the affected family and young kids, it also gave them a special bond with law enforcement. One of the kids who received the gifts danced around talking about how cops are the good guys, and they were his new best friends. Captain James Colvin, Sergeant Matt Henderson, and the unofficial office mother, Deputy Joni Huffman, please come forward to receive your honor. We'd like to recognize you because we know without your participation in this, even a relationship going with mom's daughters, this act of kindness will never really take place. All right. It's always hard to not tearing up, y'all. The next one is even better than the last. The next one is Detective Jill Feverjean with the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office. It was May 17, 2021. Lake Charles and other communities in Calcasieu Parish were caught off guard as a historic 16 to 18 inches of rain fell over a 6-hour period, causing an unprecedented flash flood. Local officials said it was the third highest daily rain event on record, dating back to the mid-1800s. During this time, deputies from the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office were deployed to do what they do best, respond to emergencies. One place where deputies were sent was a local church, which had quickly mobilized to serve as a makeshift shelter. In addition to providing crowd control functions, deputies were taking in reports of stranded motorists and residents from those who were able to get to the shelter. While speaking with residents and observing the surroundings, Detective Jill Feverjean noticed a despondent woman with no shoes. What really caught Detective Feverjean's attention, however, was the infant on an oxygen tank who was clinging to the shoeless woman. Detective Feverjean immediately approached the woman and child to inquire whether medical attention was needed. The woman responded that the child was good for the time being. Then the woman relayed her story that she had quickly fled the rising floodwaters with only minimal supplies for herself and her child. The despair in the woman's eyes and the compromised health of the young child spurred Detective Feverjean into action. Knowing that all of the community resources she would usually call on were busy responding to the flood, Feverjean went to the store and used her personal funds to buy shoes, diapers, formula, and supplies for the woman and child. Detective Feverjean went above and beyond what is required of her and displayed a genuine act of kindness for those who were most vulnerable, a mother and her child. Detective Jill Peterson, please come forward to receive your Heart of Law Enforcement Award. You know, the Lieutenant Governor and Mr. Schneider have talked a lot about making sure we recognize law enforcement today. So I'm going to take a quick station break, if you don't mind, and I'm going to unveil Beyond the Badge's first ever individual giving campaign. We've got your six. Many of you have heard this phrase, right? Its origins come from World War I fighter pilots to mean I've got you covered so the enemy can't come up from behind you, also known as your 6 o'clock, and kill you. It is still widely used by the military and law enforcement today to express that they have you covered. The underlying message of I've got your sixes, I'm loyal to you. I've got you covered. You're safe from your enemies, from stabbing you in the back when I'm around. For an organization like Beyond the Badge that was created to show support for law enforcement, this is the perfect name for an individual giving campaign in which individuals can make financial contributions to support future Heart of Law Enforcement Awards luncheons. So how does We've Got Your Six work? Well, for a donation of just $6 a month, or a one-time donation of $72, that's 12 times 6, that's about as much math as I can do, individuals can financially support, in just a small way, Beyond the Badge's efforts. In exchange, the individual gets one ticket to the next year's annual Heart of Law Enforcement Awards luncheon, a Beyond the Badge window sticker, subscription to the Beyond the Badge e-newsletter, and a fashionable Beyond the Badge short-sleeve dark gray t-shirt. Miss Julia Ernst, are you here? I believe she has one in her hands. She's modeling that t-shirt. It is soft as butter, friends, soft as butter, I can tell you. Each of our honorees actually has one of these in their bag. So just take a moment, and if you're interested in signing up for the campaign, but we've got your sixth campaign. And now on to our next honoree. Thank you, Julia, so much. Our next honoree is Chief Shane Gibson. While on patrol, a Greenwood police officer located a 1967 Chevy pickup with an ATV in the truck's bed. After running the truck's bin, it came back as stolen from the town of Toole, Texas. A few days later, Chief Shane Gibson received word that the ATV was also stolen from a different owner in Toole. Then Chief Gibson got the news that the ATV's owner included a 4-year-old named JoJo who was battling cancer. He was told that riding that ATV with her grandparents is one of the few real joys that JoJo has. So you can imagine how excited Chief Gibson was to find the owners and let them know that they could retrieve the ATV. During the investigation, the truck and the ATV were stored at Riles Towing near Greenwood. After a month or so had passed, Chief Gibson noticed that the ATV was still at Riles, however. He called the chief in Toole, Texas to inquire as to the status of the family coming to pick up the vehicle. Chief Rossman in Toole told Chief Gibson that the family really wanted the ATV back, but they had no way of retrieving it. And that's when Chief Shane Gibson sprang into action. He got on the phone with the owner of Riles Towing to explain the situation. The owner offered to waive all storage fees. Next, Chief Gibson called around to find a repair shop because the owners of Riles Towing had explained that the ATV was actually damaged by the thieves. 2 days later, the ATV was fixed and running again. At that point, Gibson made a few more calls to locate a trailer to borrow. He called Chief Rossman in Toole again to let him know he would be personally returning that ATV to Little JoJo. On a lovely Saturday morning in October 2021, Chief Gibson and crew hooked his pickup up to the borrowed trailer, loaded the ATV, and headed west to Toole. Upon arriving in Toole, Gibson and crew met up with Chief Rossman and the Toole Police Department staff. Chief Rossman had organized a parade of fire trucks, ambulances, police units, crash trucks, and many civilian vehicles. The parade proceeded to JoJo's grandparents' house, where they were able to meet JoJo and offload the ATV. A witness of the event said that Chief Gibson not only returned the vehicle, he returned the sick little girl's beaming smile and a ton of happiness to her. Chief Gibson is pictured here with probably a good amount of the town of Toole, Texas. Chief, please come forward to receive your applause. Ladies and gentlemen, our next honoree is Deputy Ethan Hemphill with the Parish Sheriff's Office. Deputy Ethan Hemphill was dispatched to investigate a report of a suspicious person loitering near several businesses. When Deputy Hemphill located the person and began his interview, he quickly realized that the man meant no harm to anyone. He was simply down on his luck, and he was trying to get to his friends in North Louisiana. Deputy Hemphill attempted numerous contacts to the man's friends on his behalf, but no one was able to make the trip to pick up that man that night. Now, Grant is a friendly and quaint community, but it doesn't have any shelters or 24-hour businesses. So Deputy Hemphill had to get creative. There was no way he was leaving this gentleman out in the cold. He made some phone calls and was able to find the man a safe, warm place to sleep for the night. However, Deputy Hemphill realized the man had no belongings, so he took it upon himself to go to a local store to purchase blankets and toiletries for the gentleman. Deputy Hemphill put out all this effort without a second thought and without any any mention to his colleagues. A second deputy who responded to the call along with Deputy Hemphill saw these actions and reported them to his sheriff. Grant Parish Sheriff Stephen McCain personally submitted this nomination to honor Deputy Hemphill and the selfless acts that are done on a daily basis by law enforcement professionals. Deputy Ethan Hemphill, please come forward to receive your award.
I'm finished.
Picture it, it's the summertime and the Pettit family is taking a road trip to Biloxi, Mississippi for some sun and fun. The family stops at the Target in Hammond to take a break and grab some last-minute supplies. Afterwards, they load up with their bounty and they drive off to the Gulf Coast. Once they get to Biloxi and are inching along in stop-and-go traffic, they hear a knocking noise coming from the back of the Suburban. Indeed, this is the beginning of a horror story. As the Pettit parents pulled over to check out the noise, they realized that the back hatch had not properly secured shut, and that it had never been notified by those computerized sensors that are so popular in our cars. Thus, the hatch had bounced open and closed the whole trip, and some belongings had fallen out of the vehicle. After a quick inventory by Mom, of course, she realized the loss was minimal except for the boys' green Under Armour backpack with all of their 12-inch Power Rangers in action figures. Not knowing what else to do, Mom reached out to Louisiana State Police Trample to ask if they'd be willing to keep an ear open for any reports of the bag. After a couple of days, Trooper Will Huggins called Mom back and said that they had not received any reports of the bag and no patrols had spotted it. Trooper Huggins and the crew at Troop L would not let the Pettit boys down, however. Trooper asked the Pettit parents to meet him and the other troopers at that same Target on their way back from Hammond. So on June 19, the Pettit family met Trooper Huggins and his family, who gifted the boys with new action figures, Louisiana police bears, and Louisiana police t-shirts. Huggins and the Troop L folks even had a new toy for baby Pettit. The boys were thrilled to have new action figures, and Mom and Dad were so grateful to state police for having some wonderful men and women serving Louisiana's communities. Trooper William Huggins, please come forward and receive your award. This is a perfect audience to tell about Beyond the Badge's signature fundraiser, the Pool for Law Enforcement, which is a sporting clay competition that benefits future Beyond the Badge Louisiana activities. The Pool for Law Enforcement competition will be held on April 22nd, 2022 at the Bridgeview Gun Club in Port Allen. Please consider participating. Both individual shooters and teams are welcome. Not a shooter? Consider sponsoring a team or the event itself. More information is available from the Beyond the Badge volunteers in the lobby. We're all wearing name badges, or by visiting our website at www.beyondthebadgelouisiana.org. Our first pool event was so successful because of the amazing assistance of a lot of people, especially the West Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office and the Louisiana State Troopers Association. We are forever grateful to you all for your help. And now, on to our next awardee. Next awardee is Deputy Brianne Lovett with the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. It was extremely difficult for the lieutenant who nominated Detective Brianne Lovett to pick just one act of kindness, so he provided two. The first act involved a longtime employee of Livingston Parish government, beloved dispatcher Laura James. James passed away in September 2021 after a month-long battle with COVID-19. Detective Lovett found out that the cemetery where James was going to be laid to rest was in disrepair due to the impact of Hurricane Ida earlier last year. Deputy Lovett found this unacceptable, so she sent a call out to anyone who could help and organized the cleanup crew to put the cemetery back in order. The deputies that showed up had been working 7 days a week on 12-hour shifts, but still gave up time with their families and much-needed rest to make sure Laura's final resting place would be as beautiful as she was. Deputy Lovett also organized a memorial service for Laura so Sheriff's Office employees could celebrate her life. So we have your professional photo, but this is the team that came out that day to the cemetery and did the cleanup. So we thought it was fitting to share this picture. The second story about Deputy Brianne Lovett involved a family of 5, which included 3 girls, 8, 11, and 15. The family lost everything in a house fire right around Christmas time in 2021. Detective Lovett heard about their situation and tried to get the parents to sign up for the Christmas Crusade, which is hosted by the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. The Christmas Crusade helps children in need during the holidays. However, the mom didn't want to take away from other needy families. Deputy Lovett was touched by that spirit of the parents, but still wanted to do something for them. At that point, she sent out a message again to the Sheriff's Office staff to gather donations for the family. Her outreach garnered an overwhelming response of money and clothing donations. The family was speechless at the generosity of their fellow Livingston Parish residents, many of whom they didn't know. According to her nominator, Deputy Lovett is not only a person with a servant's heart, but she reminds many of us in the office to not forget why we entered this profession to begin with, to truly serve and protect the members of our community. Deputy Brianne Lovett, please come forward to receive your award.
Ma'am? I think it was a woman.
Oh.
Sorry. Moved too quick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now take a deep breath, get us some water, relax, because the stories are ongoing, but trust me, you'll want to hear all of them. The next story I want to tell you about is Deputy Kenneth Trample with Ouachita Parish Sheriff's Office. Many sheriff's offices have impactful outreach programs such as Deputies Making a Change, or DMAC for short, which is a youth mentoring program that addresses the incarceration rates among 9 to 13-year-olds and is run out of the Ouachita Parish Sheriff's Office. However, not every youth mentoring program has a Deputy Kenneth Trample, who is the star of DMAC. Deputy Trample's own personal story has given him the heart to reach young men who are less fortunate because he recognizes that it takes a village to raise children right. The mom of one of the young men in the program, Miss Allen, told the story of her son, Christopher, and his very special relationship with Deputy Trample. Christopher is now 17, but first met Trample when he was 11 years old. Christopher was experiencing some discipline problems at school, and then his father walked out on him. Understandably, Christopher was reluctant to build a relationship with anyone, particularly an adult male, who may walk out on him again. But Deputy Trample proved Christopher wrong time after time. Since first meeting him, Trample took an interest in Christopher and became deeply involved in his life by being there for every event. We're talking every awards ceremony, parent-teacher conference, and every milestone. With the guidance of Deputy Trample and love from the entire Trample family, Christopher has become an honor student, a member of the band, a National Beta Club member, a JROTC cadet, and has been accepted to 7 universities. His demeanor is well-mannered, respectful of the law, proud, and confident. In January of this year, Deputy Trample was present for Christopher's induction into the National Honor Society. He pulled Christopher aside and he told him how proud he was and that while he had not fathered him, he was his father, and that Christopher had a family in the Tramples. Deputy Trample's colleagues report that he contributes countless community service hours to DMAC and other causes. There are times when students have attended DMAC classes not fully dressed in accordance with school guidelines. Deputy Trample has used his own money to purchase socks, shoes, school supplies to help these youth. He regularly stays after school to help with homework, too. He's even organized toy drives for the less fortunate youth to ensure that they all get presents. Deputy Kenneth Trample, please come forward and receive your card of all.
Wait. Oh, wait, give one more. I'm always the one, I'm sorry.
Our next honoree is Corporal Joseph Valencia with the Baton Rouge Police Department. It was October in the height of football season. At 4 years old, Maddox was a lifelong LSU Tigers fan. But unfortunately, due to a life-threatening heart defect, his family didn't know how much longer he would be around to cheer on his beloved Tigers. That's when MMR Group and the Baton Rouge Police Department stepped in. With the help of many folks with deep roots in Tiger Town and a desire to help others, Maddox and his family were gifted with sweet tickets and a parking pass so they could go see the Tigers play in Death Valley. The day of the game turned into a real party with a police escort to campus by the Baton Rouge Police Department's motorcycle division. Upon arriving at the stadium, the BRPD officers, Maddox and his family, engaged in a little impromptu tailgating. During that time, Maddox became particularly friendly with one BRPD officer, Corporal Joseph Valencia. Everyone could see that Corporal Valencia made a lasting impression on little Maddox. So much so that shortly after, when Maddox's little heart gave out, his family reached out to Corporal Valencia with a special request. They asked him to serve as a pallbearer at Maddox's funeral. Corporal Valencia countered with an amazing offer. He felt like the final journey to Maddox's final resting place should be one for the ages. So he offered to escort him on his BRPD-issued motorcycle to his final resting place. The family agreed it would be a wonderful way to honor Maddox and accepted Valencia's offer. But the corporal had even bigger celebration of life planned. On the day of the funeral, as the family was saying their final goodbyes to Maddox, Corporal Joseph Valencia and 90, of his closest friends from the National Police Officers Motorcycle Association arrived at the church. These officers represented not just the RPD, but police departments all across the country. In addition, Valencia coordinated with Louisiana State Police and EMS to participate in the procession to the cemetery. The effort Corporal Valencia put into recruiting these officers and organizing the escort of little Maddox to his final resting place brought the family to tears. It was a memory that they will carry forever. Corporal Joseph Valencia, please come forward and receive your heart. During the course of the investigation, it was revealed that one of the individuals present on scene was a victim of human trafficking. The adult victim had a small child with her, which complicated matters. Both of them were apprehensive of law enforcement, and the adult victim was less than cooperative with the responding deputies who were trying to file a report. Corporal Zonbreaker intervened and was able to calm down the victim and also encouraged her to participate in the investigation. Subsequently, Corporal Zonbreaker learned that the adult victim was heavily reliant on that male suspect from the disturbance call, mainly because she and her child were homeless. Corporal Zonbreaker took it upon herself to secure a motel room for the mom and child, and also purchased food and clothing using her personal funds. Zonbreaker also ensured that the child had a few toys to occupy her time while they were at the hotel. The next morning, while Corporal Zonbreaker was off duty, she was able to locate a family-friendly homeless shelter for the adult victim and her child. With no other means of transport, Zonbreaker decided to drive them herself. She did so by driving across the state to the shelter and helped the mom and child to get settled in. Corporal Alex Zonbreaker, please come forward to receive Service Before Self Awards to both officers. I'm going to give you all these stories now. First, I'm pleased to present the story of the Service Before Self Award for Sergeant Camille Nikki Frank with the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Sergeant Camille Nikki Frank serves in the Community-Oriented Policing and Problem-Solving, or COPS, section of the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. There, she is responsible for keeping communities safe and being a positive role model for the children that reside in her area. Sergeant Frank sees herself as a deputy who can bridge the gap between community and law enforcement, and it's her lifelong dream to help others. Specifically, Sergeant Frank was nominated because of her involvement in the Beyond the Bell program and its fundraising organization, Friends of Beyond the Bell. She has been a part of the program since its inception in January 2015. The program is based at the Reverend Lloyd Wallace Community Center in Raceland and services the children of the Alador community, a community that is poverty-stricken and considered a high-crime area. The program is intended to expand to serve all children throughout the parish in the coming years. Referred to affectionately by the children as Nanny Nikki, Sergeant Frank has been a huge part of the program's success over the years. The children are always excited when they see her LPSO car at the center. Not only does she provide them with a sense of security, but she also helps bridge the gap with unconditional love. She hosted her first community event at the center in 2015, a Father's Day event, and went above and beyond by purchasing food and supplies for the children to make cards for their fathers and father figures. She has also helped organize events such as Cookies with Cops on Valentine's Day, Shop with a Cop at Christmas, and Backpack with Blue, where she coordinated donations for kids going back to school. There was even a picnic called Crawfish with the Cops, where she purchased extra crawfish when the event was going to be short. In 2020, Nikki helped to found Friends of Beyond the Bell to help bring in even more resources and opportunities for the children in the Alador community. She served as president of the board in 2020 and 2021 and still serves as president. This allowed donations to be funneled into the program appropriately and legally. In 2021, she planned and coordinated the first fundraiser for the program and was able to provide an incredible summer program for the kids thanks to those efforts. During the field trip, she even paid for lunch for the group of children out of her own pocket when the restaurant would not accept a check. With her involvement in the program has been valuable to her job and the COPS section, it is not a requirement. Furthermore, her leadership within the group and the giving of her extra time and donations are also purely out of the kindness of her heart. She is consistently surprising the children with snacks and goodies to make them feel special. Hoping to break the cycle of hate and violence toward each other in law enforcement and helping to steer the kids on the right path to success. Sergeant Frank had previously stated that being a survivor of a tragic childhood with several heartbreaking events has provided her with life experiences to help others cope with devastation. It is with this intention and energy that she has provided a much-needed spark to the lives of the children in the Alador community. Sergeant Camille Nikki Frank, please come forward to receive your part of the Beyond the Service Before Self.
Honored to meet you.
2022 Heart of Law Enforcement Service Before Self Award recipient, which is being presented to Detective Camille Henley with the St. John the Baptist Parish Sheriff's Office. Detective Camille Henley of the St. John the Baptist Parish Sheriff's Office goes all out for his own birthday. No, he doesn't buy himself expensive presents or dine out on fancy cuisine. Instead, Detective Henley throws himself a huge birthday party of sorts. But instead of receiving gifts, he's the one who's giving them. That's right. For the past 8 years, Detective Henley has commemorated the day of his birth by spending it with family and strangers at a festive cookout. As his birthday approaches, Camille, his wife Sharonda, and his mom Joy Brown, who's with him today, begin making supply lists and planning for the cookout. The goal for Detective Henley and his crew? Cook far and deliver the food to the homeless people staying under the Claiborne Avenue I-10 overpass in New Orleans. You see, Camille feels deeply that he is blessed, and so he's always looking for ways to bless others. He has been heard saying that there isn't anything he really wants or needs, so giving to others has become his priority. On Detective Henley's actual birthday, which is July 9, he and his family load up all the supplies they've purchased with their own money and organize during their free time, and he ventures to downtown New Orleans. Once there, the crew lays out a spread of hamburgers, hot dogs, ham and turkey sandwiches, chips, and red beans and rice. Detective Henley mingles with the individuals, getting to know their stories and making sure their bellies are full of delicious food, at least for one day. Camille's department head, Sheriff Mike Trey, was quoted as saying, "It is inspiring to the entire department to see Detective Henley perform this act of kindness and generosity year after year, during which he gives of his time and resources to help others. He truly enjoys giving back to the community." Not to be outdone by his summertime giving celebration, in January 2021, Detective Henley began a donation drive to gather blankets and warm clothes for the same community of homeless individuals. Camille used his social media accounts and word of mouth to solicit for donations, even offering to pick up those donations himself, as you can see from his Facebook page. He and the group of friends and colleagues personally delivered the donations to the homeless encampment. And looking at Detective Henley's Facebook, it was so wonderful to see that he was celebrating, sure, his good work, but the good work of others. The middle one was a picture where it was, post a picture of yourself and flood Facebook with positive images of law enforcement, going back to things that you were saying, John. Detective Henley, please come forward and receive your Heart of Law
Once again, we thank you for every man and every woman who put puts on a uniform, stands between us and the encroachment of danger to our daily lives. We ask that you protect them, that you give them wisdom while they perform their duties in our communities. We thank you for their willingness to go the second mile, the third mile. We thank you for the willingness to go beyond the call of duty, beyond the badge. Lord, we live in a crazy, messed up world, and we sincerely ask for your help. Let your light shine, let your grace lead, and we pray that righteousness shall prevail. We ask this in the lovely name of Jesus Christ, and everybody said amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Davis. In closing, Beyond the Badge wants to thank this year's sponsors and all of you who purchased tickets for making this lovely event possible. A special thank you to our invited guests for taking the time out of your day to help us honor your service before self and Heart of Law Enforcement Award recipients. Please do spread the word as nominations are currently open for our 2023 award cycle. Additionally, we do ask that you mark your calendars for our poll for law enforcement event on April 22nd, 2022, and start putting together your team of 4 for the poll for law enforcement fundraiser. Ladies and gentlemen, as you've seen